Hi, and welcome to the WebRTC Codelab. With me is Philip Henke, and we're going to walk you through the WebRTC signaling and how to use it. So let's see what we have for you today. So we're going to talk about the missing Codelab in WebRTC. In this specific lesson, we're doing the introduction, explaining what the lessons are and what the structure of the course is exactly. But before we begin, I'll start with a few words about myself. I am Levent-Levi, the owner of blog GeekMe. I'm a consultant and analyst in the digital communication, and I help companies and startups build and decide their way with WebRTC and CPaaS. I focus on WebRTC, CPaaS, and machine learning in the domain of communications. I'm a co-founder of a company called TestRTC, which deals with support, testing, and monitoring of WebRTC-based applications. And I'm also the WebRTC evangelist at the W3C, the organization that standardizes WebRTC itself. Philip?
Right, I'm Philip Henke. I've been working full-time on WebRTC since 2012. And I've had the pleasure of working with Sai for many years. And I ended up maintaining the WebRTC samples originally written by Google for quite some time. And I've always found them a good way to promote spec compliant and having the right semantics in WebRTC applications. And I ran multiple services at scale, Talk.io back in the day, then Appearin. And I've met a lot of bugs in my career with WebRTC. And most importantly, I don't work for Google.
Okay.
So the problem we have is that we have the WebRTC samples on one side, but then there's a gap from these samples, which are single page examples, to getting a working proof of concept application. And then from that, going to a real world deployment. And this is the gap we're trying to solve with this Codelab.
I guess there is one more thing, and that's a matter of timing or the pace of updates.
Right, so getting a up-to-date WebRTC Codelab, finding one that is still showing the right things and things that have been valid for some time with a changing API, because WebRTC changed a lot in the last years. It is really hard to find one that is showing the right things and telling you how things are done and why things are done.
I guess the why is very important, because if you pick out the code that is out there, it's like, here's a sample or reference of WebRTC working. If it works, that's great, but then shifting it a bit or moving it or doing stuff that you want with it on top of that reference is close to impossible these days.
Exactly.
And I guess that's because, well, you don't understand why they did things there the way they did, so changing it is just hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did it for a very specific purpose, which is usually explaining something or showing how to use something else, like the PubNub backend or Firebase or whatever other solution that they have, and try to cobble it up with WebRTC.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have the problem that some example code may show a way of solving a problem that is not even valid anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, you have something that mutes and then it does weird things with the SDP instead of using the new replace track APIs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that got us to build this Codelab, a kind of a course. And the structure that we have for the course is built out of 3 different modules. The first module is the one of this introduction, where what we're going to do is do some over-the-shoulder Codelab. Philip wrote the Codelab itself, the code in there. He's going to show it step by step, all the different things that are there. And I'm going to prod and asking questions so that we both get an understanding, me and you guys, of how these things actually work and why they are done this way. The second part of the Codelab is a module with exercises. Different things that we haven't included in the original Codelab, and we found that they are also very important. And we wanted to add them, introduce them as exercises in a way that we explain a problem or something that needs to be added. You'll get the time needed to build that on your own. And then we provide the code that does that for you as well. So you can check and see what we've done there. The third part is a module with resources. It's a resource library with various lessons and videos around things that you need to know about WebRTC that aren't covered in the Codelab itself. Things like what is jitter and how turn and stun actually work, and what are the how to read the WebRTC internals file. Now we are going to focus on the walkthrough at the moment, and that's the heart of the Codelab itself. The next lesson that we're going to go through is preparation, which will explain how to get the code and start preparing the system to run it. Then we have a lesson around running the sample. So we'll see the sample of our Codelab running and how it works and why it works that way. Then we'll do a walkthrough of the index.html file. That's where we have all of the client-side code that the browser is running. After that, we're going to go into two lessons, Signaling 101 and Signaling 102. Signaling 101 is going to explain the Node.js code of the server and how the signaling protocol works there. And Signaling 102 is going to go and explain how the signaling protocol works on the client side. Then we'll set up stun as part of the system and show how it works and how we configure it into our code. After that, we'll start dealing with the different features that you can do throughout the WebRTC session. We'll have a lesson around mute and unmute, and one lesson around sharing the screen, and one on hanging up the call. The next lesson is going to talk about connection states. It's going to be more an explanation how connection states exactly work and operate in WebRTC and what you are expected to do in these different states and how you find them. And our last lesson in the walkthrough is going to be the statistics, a look at GetStats, how we use it, where we can use it, and for what reasons. The last lesson after that is going to be a summary of the Codelab walkthrough. There is a GitHub repository available as well. It's publicly open. You might have even came to the course through that repo. The repository is open and available. You can download and use it. We will use it in our Codelab. Now, the exercises section has their own repository, which is not publicly available, and that would be given, the link for that would be given throughout the exercises module itself. There is an online chat widget. You can use it if you need it to ask questions. I'm there at certain hours of the day, so if you leave a message and put your email, I'll get back to you and you'll be able to reach out to me with these questions. Other than that, if you've purchased the Codelab, there is also a Slack workspace where you'll find announcements, updates of the lessons and new lessons or things that were changed, relevant webinars that are important for those doing the Codelab, and other resources that I found interesting and thought that you should know about. You can also publish your own questions there, and again, I'll be there most of the time. So that's it in a way of introduction, and we hope to see you in the rest of our lessons.